Now we are going to take a look at S2.1. It is a sheet, obviously, with two sections through the building, and then one little section on that porch, which is the detail we were talking about that had the opposite hand. No, I'm sorry. This is the one we added. We added 3 S2.1. This is the one we added on the other sheet. That's 1.1. So this is your additional section. These are building sections that already exist. Mainly, these are just going to need some explanation. Just kind of go over it as far as reading. There's a few things we don't have, and I've added some building elevations, some architectural building elevations, and a floor plan on the module for you to reference so you can see better what's going on. But there's some things on here that aren't dimensioned structurally on here because they're just taken care of through the architectural plans. And one of the things is the height, for instance, between from the bearing height here up to the peak of this roof. We don't have an elevation here. And from the peak of this to the peak of that, or from the bearing height up to the peak of this roof, we don't have an elevation. So for now, what I want y'all to do, since we don't have all the drawings in digital format to pull everything, what we're going to do is we're going to make this elevation from here. I'm just going to try to draw some really rough lines in here to kind of represent what we're doing. So we're going to go from the bearing height here, which is where those top plates are right there. So at this point, we're going to make this 6 feet, and we're also going to make this 6 feet. And I know it won't look exactly like this when you're done, but we're going to use those dimensions from top of plate, bearing height, and then from when you get here, top of that, go up 6 more feet, and it'll work out. Obviously, we would want to have our architectural drawings with the dimensions on them, but we don't have all of those. I gave you some for reference, but there are some missing here with the widths of the yeah, there's a lot of variables here. The width of this arrival hood, the width of the roof, all this stuff that we have to reference, but we're going to use those. And then on the same note down here, the height of this from peak to bearing, or from the bearing, so this dimension right there, we're actually going to make that be a little more specific with this one. We're going to make it 2 foot 3 inches. Okay, so this one will be 2 foot 3 inches from top of bearing plate to the peak right there. So that'll be 2 foot 3. Other than that, it's mainly just, again, just paying attention and knowing what you're looking at. For instance, right here, there's a center line and a center line. Well, those are just meant to let you know that this column cover, this is that block I gave you on the website. The steel column is actually obviously what's holding up the structure. This column is meant to be what is, you know, what you see on the outside. It's just that Doric column. Okay. So those are the types of things you gotta look for. There's some things that are not as obvious, like for instance, some things we don't know because we're not designing them. It's like this. This is half of a truss right here. So this is one truss coming across here. This actually appears a totally different piece that's put on later, and then we have a mirror image over here of this one, and then we have this empty space in the middle. Well, what's happening is we got some details as far as we know where this one starts. It starts right on the edge of where this platform meets this wall, these types of things. So we can figure out where it starts, but we don't know like exactly how far over from here to here. You know, what's this dimension? How far are these apart? Some of those things we don't really know right off. And so what you're going to do is make it look as best you can like this, where it ends right here at this connection, and then make these look basically, you know, as best you can, just like that. Because what's going on is that this is a manufactured truss. Okay, from the truss manufacturer. You can see it actually has a note talking about the truss manufacturer. These are going to be manufactured by somebody else and sent, but they have to meet our specs. So we're not necessarily going to know until we get the shop drawings, which are the fabrication drawings for those specific trusses, their design. And when we do get them, we'll just copy and paste them into our drawing. We won't have to redraw them. So there's some things we'll have to estimate and just make it look right. But other than that, most everything on these two are going to be pretty cut and dry. This section on top obviously is a bigger section going right through the middle rival hood or the covered drop off out front, and then this is a smaller section. And what this dotted line is right here, this dashed line, that's this larger roof up top seen beyond, and that's what there's a note I think somewhere. I know it doesn't have a note on this one. But when you see that dashed line, that's the larger roof that we just drew a section of up here in 2.1, where it happens, how it interacts with the smaller roof. Okay, so yeah, pay attention to the notes. These are 2x4 bracing, the wood trusses. Everything on the wood trusses is going to be 2x4. That's a 2x4, that's a 2x4, but you can see these other members right here, a little larger, those are 2x6s, okay? So these members in the middle here, right here, are going to be 2x4. These little larger ones down here are going to be 2x6. So the outer frame of the truss is 2x6. All the inner webbing, inner parts are going to be 2x4. Okay, so remember that. And another thing that's going to happen is there's going to be one additional sheet added to this. This is going to be a 3.2, and that's where these are going to be referenced. So we are going to have that sheet added to it, and I'm going to add it probably today or tomorrow. But that's S2.1. Again, if you run into any specific things, post on the discussion board, or give me a call, or come by, or send me an email.